Some Seminarians is proudly brought to you by the Vocation Office of the Archdiocese of San Antonio.
Welcome to Some Seminarian Season 4, and I am Luis.
Wait a minute. I am Luis.
What?
Yes, I'm Luis.
Guys, I have something to tell you.
What?
I am Luis. It's true.
We are Luis.
We are Luis.
Are you Luis? Because if you are Luis, maybe God is calling you too. Have you considered the possibility of a vocation to the priesthood? Yes.
No, it's just a coincidence that all of us happen to have the same name, and it keeps increasing every year in the seminary. So it's interesting.
But by the way, I can't believe that is also season 4 of Some Seminarian podcast. I can't believe that. Do you remember the first one, Luis?
Oh yes, I remember. Yeah, when we first began everything was so new. But we do have a new edition, Luis.
Yeah,
3.0.
Yeah.
He's an upgrade. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about like just your background, maybe your vocation, and just a little bit about you, so that people can get to know you?
Sure. Well, I was born in Eagle Pass, Texas. I don't know if you guys know where Eagle Pass is.
Yeah.
It's about 2.5 hours away from here.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But I was born there, and I grew up right across the border in Piedras Negras.
Piedras Negras.
So Spanish is my first language. I grew up in Mexico. I lived there for 18 years until I graduated from high school, and then I came back to the U.S. for college. And after college, I joined the Air Force. I was in the Air Force for 6 years, and right before coming to the seminary, I separated from the Air Force so I could be here.
Oh, nice.
Wow. So, well, you've been in the Air Force for how long have you been in the Air Force? Or how was your experience there? 5 years, 4 years, or
Yeah, I was in the Air Force for 6 years.
6 years.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So, if you don't mind me asking, what drew you from that life? Because I came from, all of us actually came from a different. We had a career, we had this path. And then we sort of veered this way to the seminary. So what brought you, I guess, this way?
Sure. I mean, definitely I'll have to say it was the Lord. Prior to even considering seminary, I was doing what I wanted to do and being pretty much, selfish and not really taking God into account in my life. But thanks be to God through His grace. He was very gentle, and He granted me the grace to be able to see that. And when I was able to become aware that I was not including God in my life, and I was finally, for the first time, open to what His will was for me, then the possibility of priesthood came up. And so at first I was like, that's probably not it. That's probably just a coincidence that I had that thought, a random thought. But the more that, that thought would come back up, either through prayer or through conversations with people, I just realized that it was definitely something that I needed to discern.
Well, that's very interesting, Luis. Something similar happened with me in my history, like a moment when I didn't have God in my equation in my life, but then I feel the call. And I say, at that moment, I feel that I need to go to the church. I start, thinking about God's will for my life. What is God's plan for my life? So the priesthood came as an option for me. So I can relate very well with your history. It feels to me like it's like something similar that happened, because I'm started the seminary in the age of 31 years old. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Luis?
Well, let's see. So I discerned the priesthood. Well, the first time I remember thinking about the priesthood was probably when I was about 14 or 15.
Wow.
And then I was exploring it just by myself. That surfing online, what do they call it? Like the online discernment. But I think when I was about 19 or 20, I talked to my parents. I think it was about 19. talked to my parents and that I was interested in the priesthood. And to my surprise, coming from like a Mexican household, they were not very, very happy about it.
Oh boy.
Yeah, at that time. But looking back at it now, I understand it was that's when the scandals of the church were happening. It was like the early 2000s or mid 2000s, and so there was all this stuff happening, and I can look at it now and see like a parent wouldn't necessarily want their child to enter into an environment that just has that much rawness to it, to the view of the priesthood. And I also needed to mature in many ways, and so I ended up going to college, and I went to Texas State to get my music degree, and I ended up teaching for 9 years. And so I put that on the back burner, and I was just living life and doing that. But there was always this sense of, you talked about a call. And for me, the call was this sense of like, God gave me everything I wanted in that life. I worked my way up, I say like the corporate ladder. I found a job I wanted. I found coworkers who were amazing. The students I worked with were great, and I was like, that's really hard to find, all three things. Like when you're in a school and you're teaching, finding amazing students, amazing coworkers, amazing administration. And I had all three, and there still felt like something was missing. And what I can say is I decided to jump. And I knew that there was this desire still for the priesthood, and I thought God was calling me to this. And I was always hesitant, but I was like, well, if there's any time to do it, now's the time. And that little void maybe that was there has been filled in the sense of I've had the most peace I've ever had in my life, where I feel that I'm following God's call for myself.
Well, this is very interesting, Luis, because I listen to you, Luis, as well, and I can see that, I mean, the histories are similar, in the way how we discern the priesthood and the vocation to become a seminarian, to say yes to the Lord, to that call. So I remember my history, something similar. I was, I'm an accountant. This is my profession. I used to work for many years as an accountant and have a great people around me, everything that I need in the moment of my life. But something, once again, something
was
I
missing.
need, yes, yeah. Missing. And I say, what is that? And it's the moment when I start to discern and to think about God and where is God in my life. So it wasn't easy, I don't know for you guys, it was easy to say yes, because sometimes it is not easy to renounce or to say, to put away a lot of things that we have in our lives. But then we are in the seminary, learning new things, learning a new routine, a new things to do. So for me, it was, I would say, interesting to adjust myself to that routine.
In a good way, or?
I would say in both. In a good way, and well, not bad, but maybe it was a little challenge. So
you lived a certain way your entire life,
exactly,
and then you're changing completely.
Not
even when you're young, but when you're in your 30s.
Yes, and also because, part of the formation that we have here in the seminary, so we have to study philosophy and undergraduate level, and I graduated from college like 10 years ago, 11 years ago, and then I feel myself here among college student guys. I say, oh my gosh, what I'm doing here in this moment. So, but it was good. It was beautiful. So I don't know, Luis, in your case, because you.
This is your first
completed
year.
It's
my first year.
It's your first year here.
It hasn't completed yet. I'm still going through it. So.
Tell us, share with us a little bit about your experience. How's your experience has been so far?
Yeah.
The challenge from the Air Force to Assumption Seminary to the House of Formation. How's that work?
Yeah, thank you for asking. I'll say the one thing that you were mentioning really resonates with me. You said you enter around 31 years old. I was 31 when I entered seminary at the beginning of last year. Yeah. So I don't know, coincidence? I don't think so. But I did find that as well. Like both Luis and Luis are saying that.
You're gonna confuse the people out there.
I mean,
Once again, if you are Luis, join us, please.
we would love to have you.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Go on.
Go ahead.
You're good. That it was, there was definitely an adjustment to come to seminary after having been in, having lived on my own for a number of years. I moved out from home after I graduated from high school, and since then I did not live at home until this past year. I lived for a year with my parents before coming into seminary, but having lived on my own for about 10 years or so, I get to do what I want, when I want. Nobody's telling me what to do. I get to choose what I eat. I get to choose when I exercise, when I pray, when all these things. And well, that's no longer the case. Now we have a schedule, like you're saying. We have a routine that we have to get used to. So yeah, it was. There was a challenge that came with it, but also an opportunity to grow and to allow myself to for formation to take place, right? So to work in me, to work on my patience and on my my willingness to let the formators tell me the things that I needed to work on that I could not see in myself. So
Yeah, and I had similar experiences of just like that transition was difficult because I had a whole life before that I was accustomed to. But looking back at those experiences now, and just hearing different things and different wisdom from priests is like one of the things I was told that sticks with me is being a priest is not a bachelor life. It's not the bachelor, and maybe that's an impression that many people have, like, oh, you're single. No, being a priest, it's a gift of yourself. Every vocation is a gift of self. And so if you're married, you cannot necessarily go work out or go do this anytime you want. You have to tend to your family needs. And I think that this is the beauty of formation, is accustoming you into that self, the gift of self, into the priesthood.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like that concept as well. So it's like basically learning how to be a priest, a healthy priest, and that's the formation about, is how we continue discovering our journey, our vocation, and how we can still listen in the voice of God in the process. It's a process. It's a long life process. It's not only being in the seminary, but also after the seminary, is still working on us. I mean, and discerning the voice of God in our hearts.
Yeah, and I think another key aspect is about learning how to be a spiritual father, because you're a father, and I think that was one of the challenges that I had, because I come from a big family. I have 7 brothers.
Are you the oldest?
No, I'm actually the youngest.
The youngest?
Yeah, I'm the youngest.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm the youngest too.
Oh, okay. Are you the youngest?
Well, we're gonna have to
Okay.
differ on that one. Yeah, I'm number 2 of 5.
Okay. All number 2. Okay.
Yeah, I'm the second oldest out of 5.
Okay, I'm the number 8.
I'm the youngest. 3 sisters, and I'm the youngest in my house.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I loved just having such a big family, and so having a family is really important to me in my life, and just being surrounded by family. And in entering the priesthood, I think there's this sense that a priest or even a seminarian is lonely, but I think there's a difference between loneliness and solitude, because you can be married and still feel lonely. And you can be in a relationship and still feel very lonely. There's nothing. There was this guy named James Finley who says that he was married, but he's like, there's nothing more lonelier than sleeping in the same bed with your wife and feeling distance apart. But this idea of having a family was important to me. But I came to understand, there was a seminarian who told me that fathers, just like married fathers, help to bring life into this earth. And then he said that the priest helps to bring life into heaven. And so it's the job of the priest to bring all his children to heaven. So I thought that was beautiful. So like, you don't stop being a father.
Meaning that we are open to have an extended family in that sense.
yes.
Like, open to be, you know, available for the community, available for the seminarians, because the seminary now is our family. You know, it's being here, being present, is part of the being part of the family.
And even the people you communicated with
Exactly.
and outside in parishes and
Right,
stuff, like
right.
you have some very close families that you've gotten to, I know,
Yeah,
as well as me.
yeah. That's true. It's like something beauty about now being a seminarian is like you have the opportunity to know people, to allow yourself to know person that can enrich your experience in different ways. It happened with me. I've been learning a lot for many people that I encounter in my journey, in parish ministry, in the school, here in the seminary. Well, for me, it's like a great opportunity, and it's learning how to see God's grace in each individual that I met in my formation and in my life. So I don't know, Luis.
Yeah, I think
What's
that's a
happened with
very
you?
beautiful way to see it. I know I have a lot more reflection to do on that for sure. But as you were sharing, I think that's a beautiful way to see how the priest is called to be a spiritual father to the people that he's serving. So that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, Luis, talking about family. So something you shared with me one day is about you have another brother that he's also a seminarian.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So Luis and everybody watching, I have a brother. So I have 3 sisters and 1 brother. My brother is the youngest of all of my siblings, and he is also a seminarian, but he's a seminarian for the Diocese of San Angelo. He moved out there for college, and while he was out there, he heard the call.
Wow.
And he decided he wanted to discern where he heard the call. So he started seminary, I think a semester before I did. So he's now been a seminarian for a year and a half.
Wow.
Yeah. And he's younger than me, like 9 years younger than me. So
9 years
yeah,
younger
yeah.
than you.
Thanks be to God for him listening to the call and responding to it at that early age.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Do you have any family members who are priests? Or y'all would be the first?
So we would close family. My dad had an uncle who was a priest actually here in San Antonio.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, he passed away many years ago. Yeah,
That's awesome though. And
Father Rogelio was his name.
Rogelio?
Yeah.
Do you have any family members who are priests? Or?
No, fortunately not. But my mom, she discerned to be a religious sister in a moment of her life. So, and I didn't know about that until I made the decision to be a seminarian. She said, well, I did the same when I was
That's awesome.
discerning to be a religious sister. But she after a process of prayer, after a process of accompanied by her spiritual direction in the moment, she made the decision to go to another vocation, beautiful vocation, which is a family life. So to have a family, to marry, I mean, the idea is to have a vocation, to discover what is the God's plan for us in our lives. So maybe priesthood, maybe religious life, but also have a family is a beautiful vocation.
And
For
it's
sure.
a holy vocation.
Holy vocation, and very important nowadays.
Thank you
no?
for sharing that. What about you, Luis? Did you have any family members? Do you have any family members that either were in seminary or are priests, religious?
No, I don't. So I would be the first, but I do remember speaking to my dad as I was older, and he told me he had discerned a little bit. Like I think he stayed. I don't know if he was like at a minor seminary in Mexico for a little bit, and then got out. He didn't stay very long, but
That reminds me, my grandfather, my dad's father, he was also in seminary when he was much younger. He went to minor seminary in Mexico as well. He was already dating my grandmother, but he told her, I think I need
Wait.
to check this out first. And so he said, I'm going to go to seminary, and if God's calling me to be a priest, then that's it. But if not, then I'll come back.
he made her wait.
And she waited, and he came back.
Okay.
And so, yeah. My dad and all of my uncles So all my dad's brothers also were in seminary, even for like
Minor seminary.
minor seminary for a couple months or so. My dad was in seminary for 2 years when he was younger, in middle school. Like when you would be in seminary in middle school. Yeah, that's no longer. I don't think that's no longer a thing.
No,
yeah.
not here in the US, but
Yeah.
so I have a very serious question.
Yes.
What's the like? Where did your name come from? Like, where did they choose your name? Why Luis?
Good
Your
question.
name.
Good
How
question.
about Luis goes first?
Okay.
Well, as I mentioned, I'm the youngest in my family, and when I was born, my mom asked my sister, "Oh, what kind of name would you like for your brother?" And they said, "Well, maybe Andres is a good name for him." And my mom said, "No, there are many Andres in the family. I don't want him called Andres." And then my dad's name is Horacio. This is my middle name. My full name is Luis Horacio Gomez Bustamante, a long one, very Spanish.
Very
Say that
Hispanic.
again.
Yes.
Say that
Yes,
again.
Luis Horacio is my middle name. Gomez, father's last name, and Bustamante, mother's last
Okay.
name. So my mom said, "Well, let's call him like the dad, Horacio," and then Luis. She said that fit good with the middle name, with Horacio. So that's the reason why my name is Luis Horacio,
No.
because it fit, I guess, with the middle name. So, but I realized that Luis is everywhere and in different languages. You know,
Yes.
I will say it's a common name in the Spanish speaker countries, but I also realized that Luis is in Germany, Italy, and in
France.
with different pronunciation, but also the root of the name is the same one. I don't want to say the root.
Yeah, we'll speak about this.
Yeah. So what about you, Luis?
For me, my full name is Luis Alfredo Martinez Olivares.
Wow.
So similar to Luis, I have a Hispanic name, both last names from my father and my mother. And my first name comes from my dad's middle name, because my dad's name is Jose Luis.
Oh, okay.
And then my middle name, Alfredo, comes from my grandfather, my dad's dad, whose name was Pedro Alfredo, but he would always go by Alfredo. We would call him Huelito Alfredo.
Oh, okay. So they originally were going to call me Alfonso. Yeah. Why, I don't know. And I'm glad I wasn't, because I really don't.
Maybe after seeing Alfonso's Liguori.
Oh, that maybe I guess
Yeah,
that would have
yeah.
been better. Yeah, I didn't think about it that way. But they started naming my brothers after a different Mexican artist, like a singer. So I'm named after Luis Miguel.
That's a great
So have
name.
you ever been in a Luis Miguel concert?
No. I don't really listen to his music. But I heard there's a documentary on him.
Did you watch it?
No, I haven't.
okay.
I haven't. But maybe one day to see what my origins of my name are.
Yeah.
But we'll wait for another time.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned something very interesting about your brother. Your brother is 9 years younger than you, right?
Yes.
So, in our experience, we discern the say yes to the Lord in this moment of our life, in the 30s, So, personally, I mean, it was a point when we have some aspect in our life more clearly, I will say. But I will ask you, Luis, how was that experience of discernment in the age of the 30s, in the middle of the 30s, when usually people is going up in the career, in the formation, whatever happened in their lives, they are going up. And we made the decision to be a seminarians in that moment of our life. So how was that process?
Because
You want to
No,
go
yeah,
first?
no, yeah. That was because you were moving up in like rank in the Air Force,
yeah.
right? And you had a lot. You were given more and more responsibility. I guess you can talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. So Yes, what Luis is saying. I was moving up in rank. That's naturally happens in the military. So I commissioned as an officer, and so after 4 years, I had been promoted twice. You promote at the beginning every 2 years. So you from second lieutenant, you promote to first lieutenant, and then after 2 years, you promote to captain. So I was a captain. I had been a captain for 2 years, and if I had continued that career, eventually I would have been to the point where they would consider me to promotion for major.
Wow. Major Luis.
Major problem. But yeah, while in the Air Force, what I had decided, I mean, like I had mentioned earlier, that everything that I was doing on my own. Like I had chosen my career path and the things that I wanted to do. I had a dream of one day becoming an astronaut. And so
wow,
that's why I had joined the Air Force. And so I had already lined up kind of like the path that I would follow to get there. And one of the things along the way was to get a master's degree in engineering. And so I applied to this master's program. And so like you're saying, like you were kind of moving towards going up in a career, right? And so I had been accepted to the master's program, but when I felt the call from the Lord really strongly, then I realized that continue to follow that path would not necessarily help me discern the priesthood. Mm. And so I made the decision to decline the acceptance to the program. So I declined the program, the master's program, and instead, I decided to separate from the Air Force. So, wow. Yeah.
How was the process? It was a difficult process or easy or?
So I'll tell you my experience. I don't know other people's experience because everybody probably has a different experience.
Absolutely, yes.
And I'll say that my experience, I truly believe that God had a big role in it because it was very easy.
Amen.
It was, and I'm not saying easy as in like, it was very simple. Every step that needed to take place would take place without much resistance. And to me, though, those were clear signs that, okay, these are doors that are opening and I can take a step forward and see what happens next. And as another door would open and I would take the next step and so on, eventually leading me here. But yes, I had to request early separation from the Air Force, which meant
like a process.
It's a particular process. You have to submit some paperwork, has to be approved by your immediate commander and then by your wing commander, which is a colonel, the 6th rank of officer in the Air Force. That was 3 ranks above me. So wow. Yeah, and then after that's only an endorsement that goes to the big Air Force, the personnel office, and then they look at the case and then they decide, okay, we agree with what they said,
okay.
Or no, the needs of the Air Force are different, so we need him to stay.
Have you ever talked to Father David Chaco about his process of, because he was in the Army?
Right, I've heard about him being in the Army. I have not particularly talked to him about his process from military to the seminary.
Oh, it sounds like it's very similar, but every process is different to exit out of service. But I think like what you said, I mean, divine providence plays its role, and God was working to simplify things. And I think the same thing happened for Father David Chaco, who I have a huge amount of respect for. He was discerning, turned in the paperwork, but it looked like he wasn't going to get the paperwork wasn't going to be processed, and so he wouldn't be able to quickly enough for him to enter the seminary during August. And so he made a novena to Saint Therese, and on the last day of the novena, I believe he was at a church or a chapel, and this lady, older lady, came up to him and was just telling him like, "Oh, have you ever thought about the priesthood?" He's like, "Well, I applied, but it looks like the process is going really slow. The only way that they can move the paperwork forward is to have like a 4-star general like pass it on, because it's gone through all the ranks." He's like, "Well, my husband's a 4-star general."
No way.
Let me get him on the phone right now. So it went through like immediately, because I mean it's one of the highest of ranks.
So the highest rank in the military,
Well,
4-star general.
That's definitely the divine providence, you know.
That is divine providence.
at the last day
Yeah.
of the Therese novena. So
Wow.
yeah, he's a very special priest, and he's in Bernie right now. So I'm sure that I know that they love him there, and he's doing good work.
Yeah, very interesting what you guys said, because personally, the divine providence is part of my spiritual life. So I do believe too much in the divine providence of God all the time. So when are moments that I saw things that are out of my control, I just allow the divine providence to take care of them. But it's not easy. It's a process of trust. Surrender. Yes.
Yeah.
And then the divine providence take care of us in the moments of the circumstances that we don't have control of them. So
And I guess just wrapping up here, that's a very important thing. No matter what your vocation is, no matter if you're called to married life, to priesthood, religious life, sometimes it just takes that trust.
Absolutely.
And having those open eyes to see how divine providence is working. But definitely want to thank y'all for sharing, and we definitely want to thank you, Luis. This is your first season on season 4, and you have many
Happy
more
to be
to
here.
come. Yeah,
Yes.
many more to come.
Luis, we have been in the 4th season of Some Seminarian.
Yeah.
All
Yes.
4 seasons.
Yes.
yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
yes.
The OGs.
So basically, Some Seminarians is growing with us in the formation process.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you both as well for being here. Thank you for your testimony, for being witnesses to Christ, and I'm looking forward to more years as God wills it. So,
Yeah. And I invite all the people that are listening or watching this video to subscribe to Some Seminarian Podcast. We have very, very good stuff in the vocation office, social media. Just join us, follow us, and share it with the people that you love. Maybe there is a Luis over there that is waiting to listen to us.
yes.
And
Share it with any Luis that you know in your life.
Say yes to the Lord. So please share and subscribe us. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Luis.
Thank you, Luis.
Thank you, Luis.
Thank you, Luis.
Thank you. It's like that Spider-Man.
Yeah. The last one,
Yeah. But thank you
no
very
way,
much.
no way home.
Bye.